The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
Greetings and welcome to another episode of Bermuda's Feel Good Early Morning Show. Good day, Bermuda, supported by Pete's House and Aliana's Restaurant. I'm Terri Tuku alongside Jacky Lambert, and we want to thank you for getting up bright and early with us on this first Friday of December. Jack, how are you feeling this morning? The weekend is here.
I like a little weekend.
You do. You definitely like a little weekend.
I'm so excited. Like I was telling you backstage, we do gingerbread houses. Mm-hmm. You get the little kit and you put everything together, and it's just a blast because everybody's sitting around the table. It's my sisters, my mom, my niece, my nephews. My nephews are still young, so they're like running around trying to eat the icing. So I made so it's us decorating, and I make a competition. So I try to make the best gingerbread house out of all of us. Last year I did a really good job. So I was saying, like, I need to go on Pinterest to see what I'm going to do this year because I'm out of ideas. I can't always be great on my own. Sometimes I need a little help from an app.
Okay, humble brag. And as I was telling Jack, I have never done that. So I'm really excited to see how this turns out. It looks like your sister is here with us. Good morning, Tara. Yes. So, audience, as you can see, Jacky and I are ready to bring you some feel-good vibes this morning. And we do want to let you know that for our feel-good topic today, we're going to be talking to Kenyatta Tucker and Scott Clarke of the Bermuda Alumni chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. We're going to be discussing their Guide Right program. And if you want to laugh to get your morning started, make sure you stick around for our feel-good vibe of the day, which is joke time with Jacky. And since the weekend is upon us, it's the first weekend of December. We want to know what is on your weekend watch list. We haven't done a watch list in a while, and we just saw recently that What's on Netflix, which is a website, they shared all the things that are coming onto Netflix for December. So we want to know, what are you watching this month, this weekend? And I just want to shout out Anika. Good day to you, Anika. Jack, you are a binger. You have genuinely a lot of different shows that you recommend. So what is on your watch list so far?
So I don't know if anybody has seen True Story that has Kevin Hart and Wesley Snipes. Mm-hmm. But it's such a good show, but you have to like prepare yourself because it's so irritating. It's one of those things where it's just like, how do you not see what is happening here? Pay attention to your circle. So it's definitely something that you have to watch. Like I watched half of the first episode and I had to pause, get up, take a walk. I lit my sage and I was just like, it's just a show, Jack. It's just a show. It's not real, but it's still stuff that you've seen happen in real life.
Right.
So it's kind of triggering. So, trigger warning, but it's definitely something good to watch. But I also want to watch, it's Christmas. I want to watch The Grinch. And then on Sunday, I want to actually physically walk down. Well, I won't walk down to the bottom of the hill, but walk down to Middle Road so I can see the Christmas parade on Sunday.
Oh, yes. Well, the Marketplace Motorcade. I was going to say
motorcade. It's the same thing. That's how the word was made, motorcade parade,
What if that wasn't how the word was made and we just said that because...
It is now.
We just decided that.
No, but yeah.
I love your weekend watch list. So I can actually say, so Netflix, they recommend True Story to me as well, and I added it to my list. And I actually watched an episode of the Breakfast Club where they interviewed Kevin Hart, and he was talking about that particular series. And I thought it was interesting because he said it's like modeled around him as a celebrity, but it takes a left turn in the story. So I'm really intrigued to see like what's this left turn he's talking about, because it's Kevin Hart. So, you have him in a box because he started out as a stand-up comedian. So it is interesting. I'm going to be interested to see how he's been able to transition, as an actor, because it's basically what he is now. He's not just a comedian. He's definitely multi-hyphenated. And so I see we have a comment from Ikea, the specialist. She says, "Good morning. I'm catching up on How to Get Away with Murder, binging on corny Netflix Christmas movies and TV shows." Listen, press has paused on the How to Get Away with Murder thing because I actually never finished that show.
I think I finished it. I have to go back and watch the last episode, and I'm going to be that person that's like, okay, I've never seen this. Let me see how far back I need to go. But if I watch the last episode, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this, because I don't actually remember how it ended.
I'm not going to lie. I'm going to start from the beginning regardless of how far I got, because
it's one of those things that, but it's one of those shows that you can actually watch over again. Like my show that I always put on is Schitt's Creek, and I've watched it umpteen times, and I still go back. Yep, I still go back and I start from episode 1, and I still laugh just as hard.
my show like that. So audience, let us know if you have a show that you can watch over and over, and it doesn't matter how many times you've watched it.
If it's Modern Family, apparently they're taking it off of Netflix in the new year, so binge away.
I actually Modern Family wasn't a show. I like it. I think it's funny. Yeah. It's not a show that really caught my attention. My show that I watch religiously over and over, and it shows, it's Flash, Arrow, Supergirl. I have to watch this over from the first season because the way ABC did it, they and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they intertwined the shows, and so you'll get to a specific part in a season and they'll say continued on Supergirl, and it's like, I didn't start watching Supergirl season at the same time, so now I gotta start the Supergirl season to get to that point so I can catch up, and then I'll be in Supergirl, and then it'll tell me go over to Flash, and I'm like, you know what? I should just start watching all of you at the same time.
That's why I stopped watching. Cause I started off watching Arrow, and then Flash slipped in. I'm like, wait, what's happening? And I'm like, there's a Flash show? Like, I didn't even see that on Netflix. I didn't even know it was available. So then I was switched over, and then I was watching it with my partner at the time, and I'll come back, and he's like 18 episodes ahead of me, which means that he's watched other shows. And I'm like, the treachery.
Over there just cheating, broke the whole bond.
Disloyal. So I would watch what he's watching, and none of it makes sense, and then it's just, I'm over it. I don't care anymore. And then of course, Black Lightning and all the other shows will come up, and I'm like, okay, hold on. And then I
haven't started. So I haven't started the additional ones, like the additional characters in the Marvel universe, just because I know how I get. Like, I will legit just laser focus on them, and I kind of want to. I've been watching documentaries over the last couple of weeks, and so I've been trying to stay in that space. I'm actually watching Naomi Osaka's documentary series, which has been really eye-opening because I didn't really, outside of you talking about her on the show, I didn't really know who she was.
I haven't watched it.
And just watching the docuseries is really interesting because I think it kind of, to me, it who she is, what I've seen online is exactly who I see in the docuseries. I don't see any difference. She's her most authentic self in both spaces, which is really interesting. It is eye-opening, obviously, to kind of get a backseat into some of the things, some of her losses, when she lost to Coco Gauff. It was really interesting just how she did that interview afterwards, and even just how we talked about mental health and how she was speaking out about athletes just having time to themselves after losing matches, and you spoke about it too. You could see it. I could see it in the interview where it's she probably shouldn't do this interview right now. So that's definitely something I'm watching. I wouldn't say I'm binge watching it, but it's definitely on my watch list. It's something that I've enjoyed watching. I'm only on episode 3, I want to say, because it's us.
It's on Netflix?
It is on Netflix, yeah.
Okay, good to know. That's what I'm going to add to my watch list for this weekend.
Yes. I've enjoyed it so far. So if you are interested, and it's executive produced by LeBron James. There's a mention of Kobe, you do see Kobe in it. I don't know when the series was shot as far as timeline, but it's really good. I really enjoy it. And I didn't even know about this girl Coco Gauff, so now I'm gonna stalk her online and figure out who she is.
She's so sweet,
right?
I mean, I shouldn't say babies, but in tennis, like she's way younger than us in tennis, like because our bodies don't recover. So you'd be like, oh yeah, baby. But she is quite young.
But she's 15. Well,
they have no knee problems. We have one good knee, one good shoulder. Only her and half of her.
Like the one good shoulder.
Yeah, that's something I'll add to my list.
You should. And I think I just finished up. I think I told you Colin in Black and White. I finished that up. It was really interesting. Definitely saw the microaggressions in the series.
See, it was hard. Like it's another one where I had to like stop and get up and walk because it's just like, how do you not see what your son is going through?
Yeah, that was definitely difficult to, and I mean, shout out to those actors that played the parents because I would assume that now you're kind of a little bit more evolved as human beings, so you kind of know when these microaggressions are happening. But to have to play that, oh my gosh, like, and it looks like Kanika DeShield says she binged that in 1 week. It's actually a really good series to watch. So if you haven't watched it, it's also on Netflix. I think everything that we've talked about so far is on Netflix. So if you have a Netflix account, you are good. I'm looking at the time, and I think it's time for us to take our first commercial break, and then we're going to bring in today's guest of the day. So make sure you do not go anywhere. We're going to be talking about all things Guide Right, all things Bermuda Alumni chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. So you do not want to go anywhere.
Looking for that fine dining experience? Then Aliana's is the place for you. And it's lobster season in Burmese. So ladies, get your girls together for a ladies' night out. Book a table of 4 and each of you will get a 10% discount on your half or whole lobster main course. Starters not included. This lobster special is on until Saturday, December 18th. Serving dinner from 6 p.m. Thursday through Sundays. And of course, we have all your favorites, complemented with our specialty drinks and wine list, followed by our scrumptious homemade desserts. Aliana's Fine Dining Restaurant, 106 Southside St. David's. Phone 777-0555 for reservations. For those special occasions, there's Aliana's.
Welcome back to this episode of Good Day Bermuda, supported by Pizza House and Aliana's Restaurant. I'm Terri Tuku alongside Jackie Lambert. And if you're just joining us, we're getting ready to transition to our feel-good topic of the day. We have 2 guests backstage, Kenyatta Tucker and Scott Clarke of the Bermuda Alumni chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. Before we bring them into the studio in front of y'all to see, we need you to help us welcome them to the show. So make sure you drop your favorite good morning or sun emoji, because turns out these gents are not the best. They don't like the morning situation. So we're going to hopefully inspire them and wake them up this morning. So without further ado, Kenyatta and Scott, good morning to you guys.
Good morning. How's everybody today?
Good.
As you can see, Jackie and I are good. We're ready to go. I see Scott got his coffee. I don't know, Kenyatta, if you got anything, but I think we're ready.
No, I haven't.
Okay. Well, Jackie and I are going to wake you up.
Hey, I appreciate it. I'm going to need it.
No problem. So to start off, for those that don't know, can you share with us each of your roles in the Bermuda Alumni chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated? Whoever goes first, I'll bring you up.
Okay. Well, I can introduce myself and I'll let Scott introduce himself. Under the Bermuda Alumni chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi, I'm actually the Guide Right chairman. So anything that's Guide Right related, I'm the guy. And Scott, over to you.
Yeah. Within the chapter, was known as the Keeper of Records, which is kind of like a secretary function. I handle all the admin, communications, and kind of make sure everything is all certified and running on day-to-day, annual basis. I've been in that role for about 2 years now. I've been in fraternity about 3 years. I'm on a committee with the Guide Right, helping out Lumumba.
So basically, you're Terri of the alumni. That's the first thing that came to my mind. Like, ooh, all things that Terri does for us. Now, you said that you've been with the organization or in that position for 2 years, with the organization for 3 years. But Kenyatta, how long have you been a part of this organization?
I've been in the organization for 8 years. But I've been in the Guide Right program since its inception in Bermuda, which has been about 5 years. I didn't start off as the chairman though. Initially, I was the director responsible for all the training on the island, training and information communications. And then in the last 2 years, I've been the chairman.
So it sounds like there's a lot of positions in this organization, Alumni. What are the different positions? What are the different rankings?
Okay, I can speak to that. So you'll start off with your pill mark. Your pill mark is like your president. That's the highest individual representative for the organization. Then you have your vice pill mark, which is like your vice president. After your vice pill mark is going to be your keeper of records, which is Scott. After your keeper of records will be your keeper of exchequer, which in essence is your treasurer. And then after that, you have your sergeant at arms, who's the person that pretty much is the one that keeps the peace during your meetings and stuff like that.
So as I'm listening to you, I know, so I don't know, for those of you that don't know, I'm the secretary of Hamilton Parish Workmen's Club. And just hearing all of the titles that you just mentioned, I'm like, we need all of these things. Definitely the sergeant of arms, because it's a little interesting in their meetings. And I'm just like, okay, guys, do you mind pulling it back a little bit? And I'm like, where's the sergeant? Like, if someone could just tell me to be quiet, I would be able to actually finish this meeting.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
So
yeah.
hearing all those roles, I'm like, okay, I know exactly what I need to do when I listen back to this episode, write down all those titles. Now, you mentioned that back 5 years ago is when you started the Guide Right program. So can you speak to why you guys started it? Like, what is it? And just give us a little bit of background information about that.
Absolutely. So basically, for the fraternity as a whole, the Guide Right program is a mentorship program which encompasses many different areas, which is mentorship programs, college prep, tutoring, and it goes pretty much from primary school, which is elementary for out there, all the way up until college, right? So what happened, we as a chapter here said, okay, well, what do we need to do on island? Because realistically, we know the fraternity has this mandate to have a mentorship program, but what are we going to do to get it started? But we know with the limited numbers of people that we don't have the millions and millions of people like the United States has. We have, in Bermuda, there's only 35 Kappa brothers on the island. So it's like, what group are we going to focus on in order to say, okay, we can find a target that we can start our program and then build off of that. So what we did, we said from our Guide Right program, we'll start with the Kappa League, which focuses on young men from S1 to S4. And so that pretty much is where we started. And pretty much we began with 5 brothers. It was myself, the deceased brother, Charles Jones, was our initial president, our chairman for the program. We had a brother named Kevin Bean, Samuel Brangman, and Shakar Robinson. Those were the initial 5 that actually started the Kappa League, Guide Right committee, and then started the Kappa League under that.
So is there criteria for these young boys or young kings or young men to join this program? How does it work? Like, how do you become a part of it?
Okay, so initially, what we wanted to do, to go to the schools and say, okay, we went to the counselors and said, look, speak to your principal and work together and provide a list of names of young men. Some young men that were the overachievers, the high flyers. Some of the ones that are the middle flyers, the ones that aren't necessarily, they don't have the highest grades, aren't socially as sharp, or those guys that just don't like the attention, so want to wing it through. So we wanted a group of them, and then the guys that were the trouble young individuals as well. That way, because a lot of people focus their energy on, okay, I want my program to look good, so they turn around and say, okay, but we'll bring in the high flyers that don't get in trouble in class, have high academics, do all the community service, and make the program look great. But at the same time, you're missing that group of young men that need that mentorship, right? And our focus was, as a organization it's a male fraternity, right? So you want to focus, although Guide Right encompasses organizations that have males and females, we wanted to focus on the young males, because we knew in Bermuda that was a big niche that needed to be touched on, because a lot of Bermudians were saying, okay, like, what are we going to do about these young males that are getting in trouble and they're getting into gangs, and what's the way to be proactive instead of reactive, right? So we said to ourselves, all right, let's look at a wider scale of what are we going to tackle? Do we just want the high flyers? So our program looks great and everybody wants to join because it looks great. Or do we actually want to do our best to say, look, we're going to take those young guys that have troubles, we're going to bring them up. We're going to turn around and say there's middle guys that aren't necessarily the high flyers. We're going to bring them guys up to high flyers. And then we have the guys that are high flyers that you don't want them to drop. You want them to further escalate and elevate themselves in life and become Bermuda's leaders per se.
I love this. So how many people are in your program right now?
So currently we're only down to 10 young men in our program right now. However, we're looking to take on a cohort in the beginning of 2022. So,
okay, so sorry, go ahead.
Right, go ahead.
So
okay, I'll speak.
I just want to know, like, what is your cap? Like, what is the most that you'll take on?
Pun intended.
Right now, we're trying to cap it at 25, only because there's a limited amount of brothers that actually run the program. And because of that, you don't want to drown the guys that are in the program trying to make it run. And you do want a more of a focused approach where when you have a young man that's in your program that needs assistance, you can have that one-on-one. The more young men that you have, the one-on-one relationships tend to be broken. And then also we do bring in guest speakers to our programs. And when they come in, it makes it a lot harder for them to kind of pinpoint each individual young man if it's a much, much bigger group. The more brothers that come on board, now we can turn around and start expanding. But of course, you're talking about coming out of people's personal time, so you have to take that into consideration. So we said that between 20 to 25 is our ideal number.
Is perfect. And I think, like you mentioned, like the whole one-to-one connection is really important. And I know for most Black Greek fraternities and sororities, that's like really key, that whole mentorship and just having that personal connection with people is very important. Like, I feel like that's probably, from what I've seen, more important than the numbers. Like having a quantity of plethora of people is not necessarily what y'all are trying to do, or the goal. Essentially, if you get the millions, great. But you know, if y'all can get 25 really active young men to be a part of it, I think that to you, this is my assumption, would be a success. So
right. And ultimately, our goal is to push these young men to, one, roles where they're in leadership roles, and two, to go to college, because we acknowledge not college isn't for everybody. We know that, right? But we do want to ensure that we want to send as many to college so they at least have a head start. And the point of the program is also the more they network, they're networking with people that are senior to them. So when you need something like a reference letter, or you need somebody for guidance, or you need to learn how to do interview skills and dress etiquette and stuff like that, it's much easier for you, and it's more useful for you if you actually have that relationship already. And if someone in your corner is backing you while you're in college and you struggle with courses and you need somebody to tutor you, it gives you that head start that you would have never had under any other circumstance. And we also provide a scholarship as well, but we'll get to that kind of later on, I guess. But
I do have to ask, because when you look at people that are doing programs like this, I'm always curious as to what their educational background is and how they're utilizing those skills to help groom these young men. So, like, what are you passing on to them from what you've learned, not just through life, but through your college experiences?
So okay, well, I'll start from college. I'll start from college. For me personally, I went to a HBCU. So we do push them to, hey, even if you don't go to a historically Black college university, for those who don't know what an HBCU is, we encourage them to at least look into it, because what happened, these institutions were set up for young men, mostly Black young men, to go and get further educations, right? So we say, okay, look, like, what are we going to do? First, we're going to push you guys to college. So we try to get them to say, look, even if you aren't necessarily focused on college and looking at a specific college, to just read into it, look into it, because it may be something that eventually you find is actually something for you and you want to further yourself. Secondly, the second part of your question, as far as the backgrounds of the men that actually mentor and run the program. So each of us have our own unique skill sets, actually. There's another brother that's not in this chat named Samuel Brangman. He's actually Postmaster General. Scott, he can correct me if I'm wrong, but he's into analytics. I myself, my background is in accounting. We have a lot of brothers that are into investments, some that are lawyers, some that are public speakers. And because of their walks of life, what we would do, we would have them come into sessions, first and foremost, to speak to the young men. And then if there's like maybe an area that a young man makes clear that he wants to get into, like we had one young man who said, his name's Dequan Tri. He said, look, I really want to get into acting, right? Like, and we didn't have any brothers that are into acting. So what we did, we brought in a guest speaker who that was their forte. So we try to look at each young man's wants and needs. And on the application form, when you first apply to get into the program, we actually ask you what your interests are. So what we do, we cross-check what your interests are on that sheet. And if it changes and you let us know during the sessions, then we can turn around and say, okay, now we can bring in somebody to kind of speak to you directly to see if that's really what you want, or maybe consider something else that's related that you haven't maybe thought of at the time yet.
This is all exciting. I like just hearing it. Wait, sorry, before I start again, Scott, do you have anything you wanna do? You do analytics?
I work in reinsurance, yeah. I do a bit of everything, risk management basically.
Ooh, fun.
I think the moment like hit it out in the head though. So we're fine, yeah.
And sorry, if you hear Scott calling me Mumba, it's because my first name is actually Lumumba, but so I go by Lumumba or Kenyatta. So
I'm never calling you Kenyatta again. I'm like, Mumba!
You should have a little echo with it too.
Mumba!
I actually wanted to ask because so I'm an HBCU alum as well, and so I wanted to ask which HBCU you went to first of all.
I went to Alabama A&M University, home with the Bulldogs.
Okay, well, I went to East Wellman College, the illustrious. So
Atlanta, Georgia.
We'll put that there. But then, Scott, so I wanted to ask, like, what is your, not in your college background, but can you speak a little bit more about your background in risk management and how that is helping you in your current role within the organization?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Because for me, when I went to school, I studied statistics, and I ended up in reinsurance now, and it's such a big industry here, but it wasn't something that I thought was open to me at the time. Like, I didn't think about it. I didn't have any communications or connections into reinsurance. So within the program, I think it's always important just to let all the boys know that, you know, this opportunity is available. There's a good money in insurance. It's a great field to get into. You know, it's a very, very fulfilling career. A great work-life balance. There's a lot of opportunity there, especially in Bermuda. So I'm able, you know, to give them those connections, let them know what they need to do, and also just be there to guide them if that's the path they choose. Like, it's not for everyone, because we have a whole diverse pool of interests. Like Kenyatta was saying, we had actors, we had people who want to be chefs, we have boys who want to do plumbing. But like that corporate route it's always here in Bermuda. It's big, and I had a lot of guidance and mentorship along the way to help me get into the field. So I like to provide that to them as well.
I love that. I just love all things about this.
So we talk about mental health a lot on this show. Like, a lot. It's one of our biggest pushes.
I think it's a pillar that we have at this point.
It probably is. But how do you guys ensure that these kids are using proper technique to maintain proper and healthy mental health, as well as making sure that you guys are protected in the process?
Well, actually, that we tackle a little bit differently. We've done differently in the past. So, as well as having a relationship with the mentees, we also have a relationship with the parents as well. I won't lie and say, look, the parents are just totally out of this. We do communicate with the parents as well, because you're gonna have young men that just say, I don't want to go to the program today. I would rather just hang out with my friends for this 2-hour span. So I'm just not gonna come. Or it might be something that they're going through in school, at home. And the parents or illegal guardians, because I can't say parents, not in every case is the parents. Sometimes it's the grandparents or even godparents, right? So what we do, we keep that relationship, and then we speak to the parents as well and do checkups with the parents to say, look, you know, how are they making out school-wise? Has there been a drop-off? Is the home life balance, is it good? If you have anything that you feel needs to be addressed, we ask them directly, look, to talk to us, so that we could talk to the young man directly and find out exactly, you know, what they might be going through, you know, because at the end of the day, it's a mentorship program, but we're like big brothers to them to say, okay, look, whatever you need, we're here for you. Like, there's not really even scars trained to make sure that your parents are comfortable, you know, that you feel like you have the best resource at your hands. However, if it's something that's more significant, that may not necessarily fall within our forte, then it'll be just a matter of us talking to the parents to say, okay, like, here's some other problems that I think have arisen that is out of our remit. Like, we can't really speak too much of it. Because there are things that people will go through, like gang violence. As much as we can talk about it, we can't be hands-on to pull you out of that lifestyle. The best we can do is say, like, look, here are the pros and here are the cons of that environment, right? And then when you turn around and make that decision, hear the consequences. But if it starts to come onto your everyday life, we can't then go and say, look, we're going to tackle those guys that are coming into your life. We can't do that, because then our lives become endangered. So there are variables that are out of our control, but we do our best to try to sway them away from negative lifestyles. But then mental health, as far as stress, we want to do our best to like minimize stress, because we understand with like social bullying, internet bullying and stuff like that, it's a big thing now, right?
Yeah.
So we would have a session on that, and just try to encourage them to be confident too, right? Because a lot of time bullying impacts these young men and young ladies because of simple fact that a lot of times they're just not confident. I got my daughter upstairs. Gotta go get her.
No
That's
problem. We'll pull you out. And so Scott, on to you. So I just want to ask, so Jacky and I love to celebrate Bermudian success stories. So we just wanted to ask, is there anyone that has come through the Guy Right program that kind of stands out to you as someone that has kind of like exemplify what the program represents, that you can kind of share his story on? You don't have to give his name, just like, some factors about his story.
Well, I guess I will give a shout out. I think Zane Sinclair actually last year really stood out to me. When I came in, I was new to the group as well. I was only been here 2 years, so I hadn't had that long relationship with some of the boys, as some of the other brothers who were involved with the committee. But I got into the Zane, seen him in a couple of meetings. He seemed a bit quiet. So the moment just catch you up, I'm just talking about boy that I think stood out really last year as a great success story, reflects the program well. And I was saying Zane Sinclair. So with Zane, we've kind of fostered our relationship more on the college tour we took them on. So I got, chances to work one-on-one with the students on that trip. And get to know their personalities a bit more. And Zane really stood out. He's very outgoing, started to like speak up, within the framework of all the other, actually. So just to give you some background, we were at a conference with the whole Eastern Province, which was like all the states on the Eastern Coast, doing with their Kappa League committees. And Zane was, speaking in meetings and giving his opinion. And you come back, we had the COVID thing over the summer, and we weren't really able to meet up. We were doing virtual meetings here and there. But in that time, Zane was there building a whole business of gardening. And I was to see that in the news and see that this came from the Kappa League, we were able to help him and help him get to that place was a great feeling. And he went on and had a very successful academic year. I was really proud of him. I mean that's what you want to see. Us, one of our goals is to create models of positivity in the community, and I think he really reflected that this year. How he went through a tough time and turned it into something really positive.
I love that story. Shout outs to Zane.
Yeah.
So, Kenyatta, you actually had mentioned earlier about a scholarship. Can you talk to us more about the scholarship?
Well, actually, when it comes to the scholarship, Scott's actually the best person to speak to on that. Yes,
Scott, talk again. I like it when you
because
talk.
we have a relationship with St. Ree, which he was instrumental in that.
Yeah. So on the scholarship program, the company I work with, S&R Reinsurance, it's a local reinsurer. They wanted to get involved in charity. So we have multiple charitable, and the focus is always around education or supporting families. So knowing that I work in the Kappa League mentorship program, they reached out to me and try to ask if there's any way they could help. And we settled on the best ways to really do that in terms of like supporting the youth and doing education was looking at Bermuda College. So we've set up an initiative where there's a donation of $50,000 by S&R, and it's actually split down the middle. So we have our Greek organization, Kappa Alpha Psi, but there's also other Greek organizations on island. And in this instance, we worked with Delta Sigma Theta. So they have a program for young women called the Delta Gems. So $25 each way would be put towards funding to go to Bermuda College. And the students would be selected by us and from our program. And we would mentor and maintain that relationship while they're in Bermuda College, and SN will provide the funds. So I think we've put 4 students in right now, and I think there are 4 students on the Delta side. and they've just finished their first academic year, and they're looking forward to starting the next one going forward. It's 2022.
We love that. I mean, I'm actually a product of scholarships, like my entire undergrad, and not my master's program, but my undergrad was definitely fully funded by scholarships. So I love to hear that there are scholarships out there for our students to kind of continue their education. And as we wrap up, can you guys let us know how people can sign up? Because you did mention that we're going to have a new cohort of the Kappa League in the new year, and how they can connect with you guys on social media if they want to continue this conversation with you, maybe support you, maybe offer themselves to be a guest speaker at one of the sessions. Let us know how we can keep in contact.
Okay, will do. So they can email Bermuda Kappa League, which is Bermuda Kappa League, no spaces in between, Bermuda Kappa League at gmail.com. Or you can go to our Instagram page, which is Kappa League _Bermuda. Or if you want to find out more just about the organization as a whole, you can go to National Kappa League.
Just so cute.
Good morning.
Morning.
So it'll be the nationalkappaleague.org. And you can even go on YouTube as well and look up Kappa League TV. And that'll tell you everything you need to know about the Kappa League overseas, what it offers, and what we offer here on Island as well.
That is perfect. And I just want to say shout outs to our special third guest who just made it in late in the show. That's a special guest. We knew she is coming, but we kind of wanted to
Can't see you, Gordon.
Thank you once
Oh
again.
my God, you're so cute. I am a freak, I love babies.
Jackie and I love the kids over here. Thank you, Kenyatta and Scott, for joining us bright and early this morning.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, it was a pleasure.
Yes.
And I want to say thank you for Tara as well, your sister, because without her, I know she was very helpful in getting this all started.
Yes.
But please, anybody that's watching, pass this information on, please. The Kappa League, it's not limited to public schools. It's public schools and private schools, so anyone can apply.
Good to know. Perfect.
Thank you, guys, and we'll see you guys later.
Thank you, ladies. Have a blessed day. See Terry. Thanks for having Jackie. Have a blessed one.
Have a good weekend, guys.
You too.
Bye. Oops, I switched the little screen up there on them. That was amazing. So as always, audience, let us know what you thought of today's conversation in the comments. Jackie and I are going to take a quick commercial break, and then we'll be back with our Feel Good Vibe of the day. So you do not want to go anywhere. Jackie and I are actually going to be sharing our thoughts on today's episode with you as well.
Same smooth sounds, different name. BCG Radio, home of Bermuda's most engaging morning talk shows, The Daily Hour and Good Day Bermuda. Download the app, available for Android and Apple devices. BCG Radio, your station for conversations and entertainment.
Welcome back to this episode of Good Day Bermuda, supported by Pizza House and Aliana's Restaurant. I'm Terri Tuku alongside Jackie Lambert. And if you're just joining us, we just wrapped up our conversation with today's guest of the day. We had Kenyatta Tucker and Scott Clarke of the Bermuda Alumni chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. They talked with us about their Guide Right program, which I think is super amazing. Jack, what do you think about that program in general?
I love it. It's exciting to hear that they have connections with lawyers, accountants, a lot of things that your average Bermudian young boy doesn't think that they are interested in doing or even able to do, and knowing that it's right there at their fingertips. I love that. And then, representation is a huge thing, especially in our Black community, to know that I can absolutely do that because he looks like me. Mm-hmm. Or he came from the same place as me, or he went through the same issues as me. Just that connection means a lot. So to know that these guys are out there doing the work and putting in to have a better community, I love it. Love it, love it, love it.
Absolutely love it. And Nikita Shields thinks it was a great conversation as well. And to your point, I definitely think that not only does representation matter, but it's very important to actually see that, someone that that guy that I admire, that I look up to, that I think is a great guy, he actually has a really decent job, or he does something that I'm interested in. And so it's possible for me to do it as well. And so I absolutely enjoyed today's conversation with our guests. I'm excited to actually find out. I actually want to have them back when they have the cohort started, and maybe they can bring one of the one of the young kings as part of their
mentees.
Mentees, a part of their cohort, to like come on and just like talk about their experience. I think it'll be really cool. I'm pretty sure the person's gonna be shocked. Yes. But as you can see, Jacky and I love having people like that on the show, because we just love to make people like us.
Yeah, talkers.
It is.
Oh, you thought you didn't like talking? Open up a new pathway.
Jacky, I don't know if the audience is ready, but I know I am ready for a joke time with Jacky. So send us off with your best, corniest jokes ever, because I'm ready.
Okay, what do you call a toilet with a wooden shoe in it? Sorry.
A toilet with a wooden shoe? I don't know. A flush. Flushed.
Clogged.
Clogged. Because clogs are wooden.
Oh my god. I was holding it in for so long. Okay.
Bop.
Oh. What is Forrest Gump? Look at my eyes. What is Forrest Gump's password?
Forrest Gump's password? I don't know.
Forrest, one.
I knew it was gonna have one in it, but I just couldn't figure it out.
Oh my gosh. Okay, last one.
I knew you could come with the top jokes today.
How does cereal pay its bills?
It milks it.
With checks. Mix.
Bruh, you're saying anything on this Friday. As always, Jacky and I hope that today's Feel Good Vibe of the Day has you ready to make it a great one. Thank you so much for watching and engaging with this episode of Good Day Bermuda, supported by Pete's House and Aliana's Restaurant. I'm Terri Tuku alongside Jacky Lambert, and we trust we'll see you next week for more Feel Good conversations. Until the next episode, have a great weekend. Peace and have a good day, Bermuda.